First of all, we'd like to say all praises be to the Most High in the name of Yeshua. We're going into a kind of a detailed lesson. The last couple of weeks before Lawyer came in last week, we were going over the coming of the Lord, also the change as far as the judgment after the 1,000 years and the change for the elect and the judgment for the condemned. And I kind of figured that we need to go into a pretty good lesson on angels today. All right. There's not much our people know about angels and their forces and how they interact with us on a daily basis and how they are as real as we are. And it's amazing. The reason I wanted to go into this particular lesson is because throughout all ancient civilizations and cultures, the existence of the unseen was taught throughout past civilizations. It seems in our day and time they have disconnected us from the spirit and how we are actually connected to the unseen and the angels and how it interacts with mankind, as if there was some satanic plot to separate us from the unseen forces. Okay, now one could debate why it's so, but we can show you in the Bible that the angels do exist. And even ancient Rome and ancient Grecians, which were pagans and are pagans today, they just don't know it through Christianity, worship fallen gods in their ancient temples. Now, anytime you would like, you could go to any of your browsers if you have the internet and search pagan temples in Rome, and a plethora, many of Zeus temples will come up all over Europe. So how is it that every civilization up until modern time believed in the unseen, and now atheists have taken over to make everyone believe who are actually children of those ancient civilizations, make the children of those ancient civilizations believe that there is no God, everything is by chance? What is that really about? Are the angels real? Well, 100%. The answer is yes. So today we're going to go into the Bible and show you the interactions of the angels with mankind. Now, in order for scientists or the Western world to bring forth this new doctrine to make everyone believe that there is no angels or no God, they have pushed through their institutions, really, they have taught in their institutions for the masses not to believe the Bible, to make everyone believe the Bible is some type of fallacy or fiction, when really the world we live in is fictitious. Okay? This is a created world which is fictitious and have separated us from the unseen. Now, before I go into this, for a lot of you, you don't even need this lesson to know that angels are real. Okay? How many times would something happen to you and it was only through something unseen you or your family members made it through and no one could explain it? How many times you were at a doctor's office or at a hospital and they're trying to get you to pull the plug and say that, just pray because no one knows what's going to happen, and the doctors could do nothing and your loved one came back? Okay? Why? Because doctors cannot treat the spirit. They can only deal with physical symptoms. They don't know what brings a spirit in the world. They just know how to deliver babies. And they don't know where the spirit goes when it leaves. They don't even know the angels act in the whole transition of life. Well, we're going to try to go over a few of these things today and show you how it leads to the second coming and how the angels of the presence, according to the Bible, will lead the children of Israel in the last days. But first off, let's go into the Bible and let's see if angels are real. Now, if you don't believe in the Bible, of course, they will, especially Christians, they'll tell you don't even believe in the Old Testament. When all through the Old Testament, the Bible speaks of the angel of the Lord. And this is specifically for Christians. If you don't believe in the Old Testament, you don't believe in Christ. Let's make that clear. And I'm going to show you why. Let's go to Luke 24 real quick. Luke 24. Now, I'll tell you this though. The elite powers under Satan today who are behind the atheist teachings, even though they discount the Bible's accounts according to the scriptures when it comes to gods and angels, they have taken all the concepts from the Bible so that they can bring forth their own ideology in making gods, which that concept only comes from the Bible itself. So even in New Age philosophy and New Age teaching, it comes from the evolution of man into gods. Where would they get that from? So they take concepts from the scriptures but say, well, don't read it. But let's get this point for Christians real quick who don't believe in the Old Testament. Luke 24 and 47, you got it?
Yes, sir.
Read it.
I'm going to start at verse
25.
Yes, sir.
Read it.
St. Luke chapter 24, verse 25. Then he said unto them, O fools and slow of heart to believe.
O fool and slow of heart to believe.
All that the prophets have spoken.
All that the prophets have spoken.
Ought not Christ to have suffered these things and to enter into his glory?
Read.
And beginning at Moses.
And beginning at Moses. Now, if one is told not to read the Old Testament or to not to validate the Old Testament as anything spiritual, it says from the books of Moses, which is Genesis, Numbers, Deuteronomy, all those 5 books there. Read.
And all the prophets.
And all the prophets, those are the prophets after the first 5 books. Read.
He expounded unto them in all the scriptures the things concerning himself.
So Christ was teaching himself out of the Old Testament, because there was no such thing as a New Testament when Christ walked the earth. So in order to believe in Christ, even when Christ was walking, you had to believe in what was written in the Old Testament. So how can your preacher trick you into saying, thinking that the Old Testament is null and void? Christ taught himself out of the Old Testament. Don't forget, there was no New Testament when Christ was walking. So how did people believe? What would they believe in? They had to believe what was written of him in the scriptures. So he was a fulfillment or an embodiment of the Old Testament. They would lie to you in Christianity and try to play the Old Testament against the New Testament when they're one book in the same. The New Testament was needed because the children of Israel broke the Old Testament. See? Read.
We jump down to verse 44.
Read.
And he said unto them, These are the words which I spake unto you.
This is Christ's words, Yeshua's words.
While I was yet with you, that all things must be fulfilled which were written in the law of Moses.
That was written in the law of Moses.
And in the prophets.
And in the prophets.
And in the Psalms concerning me.
So Christ said all the things had to be fulfilled which was written in the books of Moses, the prophets, and the Psalms concerning him. If the Old Testament is null and void, what was Christ fulfilling? So shouldn't you know whether or not he is the anointed by following what was written of him in the Old Covenant? See, but Christianity have separated us from the cultures which are written in the Old Testament, and the reason they did that so that they can teach you slaves new pagan customs. So that now, you being a pagan, when you go into the Old Testament and read the holy days, you don't ask yourself the paramount question. What's the question? Well, why aren't we following what's written of in the holy days that Christ did and his people did? See? If they can get you not to look at it all together, then you won't question your paganism. Now, let's go in. Now, listen, this is no attack on Christians per se. We're attacking the authority, the satanic authority of Christianity. The majority of Christians are good, loving people. They just don't know that they have been taught a slave religion that leads to paganism and Satan worship. Okay? But time and chance happen to all men. So now, let's go into the lesson. Angels. All right. Read that Colossians 1 and 13 so we can pick up on these lessons. I don't even get into the angels yet, but let's go. Colossians 1:13 again.
This is Colossians 1 and 13 through 16. Who have delivered us from the power of darkness, and have translated us into the kingdom of his dear Son.
Go ahead.
In whom we have redemption through his blood.
We have redemption through his blood, Christ.
Even the forgiveness of sins.
Go ahead.
Who is the image of the invisible God.
To show you that Christ is the image of the Most High. And we know the image of the Most High is not just male, right? There was females also created in the heavenly realm. Read.
The firstborn of every creature.
But Christ was the firstborn of every creature. Read.
Verse 16. For by him were all things created.
All things were created by Christ.
That are in heaven. And.
Hold up. Are angels in heaven? Absolute. Read.
And that are in earth.
And that is in earth. Read.
Visible and invisible.
Visible and invisible.
Whether they be thrones or dominions, or principalities or powers, all things were created by him and for him.
Go ahead.
Verse 17. And he is before all things, and by him all things consist.
Go ahead.
That's not that.
I need you to go to Hebrews 13 and 2.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 13, verse 2.
Read.
Be not forgetful to entertain strangers.
So the New Testament tells us, be not forgetful to entertain strangers. Read.
For thereby some have entertained angels unawares.
Some have entertained angels unawares. Many of us have entertained angels in our presence and didn't know it. Why? Because they are in the image of the Most High. They come in the earth as the image, male and female. So we entertain them and don't even know we're entertaining them. They're here amongst us walking every day, but yet they pass off as regular people. They can take the form of regular people. And they have a paramount part in the second coming of Christ. Through the whole thing, they're operating in the spirit and realms. They're operating outside of the realms in the invisible, and they operate in the visible when need be. So the Most High tells us, be careful how we deal with strangers, because some of us probably out there arguing and trying to fight with an angel. Now that might be far-fetched to us today, because Satan and his science and education have disconnected us from the spiritual world. When at one time, we knew when we were in the presence of an angel. Why? Look at the technology and how they did things today. How they've lit everything up at night. So if something comes out of the darkness into light, you would know it because they lit everything up. But back then at night, everything was dark. If something came into your presence, you've seen it. So let's go back into the Old Testament and see if we can get some of these angels who walked amongst men. And I'm saying this is because so many times when we go into some of these lessons, brothers and some people out there, and they learn it from the Catholic Church, they don't even know it, they claim that it's impossible for angels to deal with people, not understanding the power of angels. Angels can deal with people. That's their sin. And if they sin that way, they fall to this terrestrial plane and get trapped within this plane. Now it's deep that we have to teach this when every ancient civilization before us knew this. The Greeks knew it, the Persians knew it, the Israelites knew it, all of us knew it. The Ishmaelites knew it, All ancient cultures knew about the fallen angels in the worship of jinns or angels. It's in every society, but our modern society have dumbed us down and separated us from the spirit. Because why? If the majority of us knew that angels were real, then we would have a propensity to link into the God that made them and fear the Most High and come back to his law. So they had to make us believe that it's just a fairy tale or a myth. Right? Let's go into a few. Let's go to Genesis 16. Matter of fact, let's go with Adam. Let's start with Adam when he was walking in the cool of the day. When Adam was walking. Read.
This is the book of Genesis chapter 3 verse 7. And the eyes of them both were opened.
Go ahead.
And they knew that they were naked.
Adam and Eve knew that they sinned against the Most High. Read.
And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons.
Go ahead.
And they heard the voice of the Lord power walking in the garden in the cool of the day.
Go ahead.
And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord power amongst the trees of the garden. And
so there was a presence of someone walking with Adam, speaking with Adam. You're going to find out all through the Old Testament that's called the angel of the Lord. Read.
Verse 9. And the Lord power called unto Adam and said unto him, Where art thou?
Go ahead.
And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, Who told thee that thou wast naked?
So let's see the intercessor for mankind beginning with Adam. Let's go to Moses. Exodus 3.
Exodus chapter 3 verse 1.
Go ahead.
Now Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian. And he led the flock to the backside of the desert, and came to the mountain of the Most High.
Go ahead.
Even to Horeb. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a flame of fire.
So here's an angel of the Lord appearing to Moses. So that spirit always operated with the prophets from the beginning. Now, that angel of the Lord, matter of fact, I print this out for you to show you the name of that angel that you would read there. 4397 in the Hebrew, which translate to what?
Mala'ak, from an unused root meaning to dispatch, as a deputy.
A deputy.
A messenger.
A what?
A messenger.
A messenger.
Specifically of the Most High.
Specifically of the Most High. That is?
That is, an angel. Also a prophet, priest, or teacher. Ambassador.
An ambassador.
Angel. King. Messenger.
Why? Because the Most High don't need to leave the throne. He sent the angel of the Lord. He sent Christ in the Old Testament to intercede for him. See that? That's Hebrew 4397. So it started off with Adam all the way through the prophets. All right, so it's important for you to know this Hebrew because it gives you more detail. Christ have always been called the mediator or the intercessor for man. All right? You got it.
This is Exodus chapter 23, verse 20 through 21.
Go ahead.
Behold, I send an angel before thee.
I send an angel before thee.
To keep thee in the way, and to bring thee into the place which I have prepared.
Go ahead.
Beware of him, and obey his voice.
And obey his voice.
Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions. For my name is in him.
My name is in him, talking about Christ. See that? So Christ from the beginning even led us out of Egypt. That was Christ. And all through the Old Testament, he's called the angel of the Lord. So before he came as man, before he came into the earth as a sacrificer, he was a son of the Most High, operating as an angel of the Lord to intercede between the Most High and the prophets and mankind. See that? Anything else there?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, give you some more examples of angel intervention. Let's get Abraham real quick. Let's go to Genesis, the 22nd chapter.
This is Genesis chapter 22, verse 1. And it came to pass after these things, that the Most High did tempt Abraham, and said unto him, Abraham. And he said, Behold, here I am. And he said, Take now thy son, thy only son, Isaac.
Matter of fact, let's get before that. Let's get when the Most High sent angels to him real quick. One moment, let me get that.
18.
Yeah, let's get 18. Let's get the 18th chapter.
Yes, sir.
That's the one I want. Let's get it.
Genesis chapter 18, verse 1.
Read.
And the Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre.
And the Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre. Listen clearly.
And he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door, and bowed himself toward the ground, and said, My Lord, if I now have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree.
Now that shows you that angels have the images just like a man. Head, 2 arms. The Bible describes them as what? 3 men.
Mm-hmm.
So they appeared as people. And he told them to rest their feet. To show you there are angels that rest. Read.
This is verse 5. And I will fetch a morsel of bread and comfort ye your hearts.
To prove to you the angels also eat.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget, when we came out of Egypt, the children of Israel, the Most High had it rain manna, which is angels' food. So the angels can consume food. Okay? They just have a different type of body than us. It's not a corruptible body, so there's no waste with them. It's not corruptible. Read.
And I will fetch a morsel of bread and comfort ye your hearts. After that ye shall pass on.
Go ahead.
For therefore are ye come to your servant? And they said, So do as thou hast said. And Abraham hastened into the tent unto Sarah, and said, Make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes upon the hearth. And Abraham ran unto the herd, and fetched a calf tender and good, and gave it unto a young man. And he hasted to dress it. And he took butter and milk, and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat.
Go ahead.
And they said unto him, Where is Sarah thy wife? And he said, Behold, in the tent. And he said, I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life. And lo, Sarah thy wife shall have a son. And Sarah heard it in the tent door, which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old and well stricken in age, and it ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of woman. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I am waxed old, I shall have pleasure, my Lord being old also. And the Lord said unto Abraham, Where did Sarah laugh, or wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, Shall I of a surety bear a child which am old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the time appointed I will return unto thee, according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laugh not, for she was afraid. And he said, Nay, but thou didst laugh. And the men rose up from thence and looked toward Sodom. And Abraham went with them to bring them on the way. And the Lord said, Shall I hide from Abraham that thing which I do, seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him? For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord, to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he hath spoken of him. And the Lord said, Because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it.
Now we're going to go into Sodom and Gomorrah a little later in this lesson, but I wanted to show you that angels interact with people just like everyone else. That's what I wanted to show you here. Okay? Now, I know when some think of angels, you think about all that power they come with to destroy and all those things, but the majority of time, they come in a total meek and humble spirit and operate amongst mankind. Okay, we're just so separated from this, it's hard for the majority of us to understand. We're taught, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's Hollywood and what they've taught us in our society. We're so disconnected. As a matter of fact, we don't pray, we don't connect. A lot of us don't even look up anymore. So we're disconnected from the spirit. But on the other hand, the dark forces on the dark side, they do everything they can to have fallen angels and demons come into their presence all the time. That's who's directing them. Let's get Ephesians on that real quick to show you there's a battle between angels. The angels that follow the Most High, and, yes, you got it, the fallen angels. And I know the Christian church would say, well, that's impossible. That didn't happen in Genesis 6. Those were the children of Seth. Well, if you understand that, or if you believe that, you have no conceptual understanding on judgment and the gods that have been worshipped throughout all society. Don't forget, Lucifer promised that he would fall, and him and his angels, and they will be worshipped as gods in this earth. And there's landmarks and proof all over the earth that Satan was worshipped in every society, and his angels, even Stonehenge. All the witches go there regularly. There's temples to Zeus all throughout Europe. But yet you're still confused in this great battle between angels. Because the Catholic Church have lied to you to make you believe those were just people being bad in Genesis. But we're going to get back to those angels who left Abraham, total men, and then went into Sodom, because that links in to today. To show you how the angels watch everything first. They behold all the evil first before the judgment. And Sodom and Gomorrah thought they was going to get away. They was doing all these things, no judgment. We're going to get there in a moment. Let's read in Ephesians what we wrestle with.
Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12.
Read.
For we wrestle not against flesh and blood.
We wrestle not against flesh and blood.
But against principalities.
Principalities.
And against powers.
Powers.
And against the rulers.
And when you look at those powers, that links to the word gods. G-O-D-S. Read.
And against the rulers of the darkness of this world.
So the Illuminati, who you call the Illuminati today, they're being ruled by gods. All civilizations outside of the children of Israel have always been ruled by gods. And of course, we fell off as a people once we started sinning, the children of Israel. That's why we in captivity today, and all nations are ruling over us. We fell and began to worship the Canaanite god Yahweh, which also was connected to fallen angels. I'm going to go to that a little later, too. Go ahead.
The rest of verse 12. And against spiritual wickedness in high places.
Against spiritual wickedness in high places. So there's a war of angels. The righteous angels against the fallen angels. And the spirits that proceeded from the fallen angels. Okay? So that's what we're wrestling against. Let's get the angels that sinned in Jude before I go in the Old Testament and get some more angels real quick.
This is Jude 1 and 6.
Read.
And the angels which kept not their first estate.
And the angels which kept not their first estate.
But left their own habitation.
To show you angels who were watchers or living or inhabiting space, what we call space, which is really heaven. Read.
but left their own habitation.
They left their own dwelling place.
He have reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day.
So there was fallen angels that were bound in Hades before the flood during the time of Enoch, and led to all types of evil to the point where Noah was afraid. The Most High protected Noah and his children, said, build an ark. Leave there and build an ark. Why? Because if Noah did not listen, Satan's creation would have consumed all of the Most High's creation. Satan's science. Okay? So they are bad angels, angels that sinned. What was their sin? They came down and did their own will and lusted after women and bare a hybrid creation outside of what you would read in Genesis. They started making their own creation, which was against the Most High's. Later, those children were reverenced as titans or gods in the earth, and the Most High destroyed them. Until this day, the pagans worship them. They worship that land, Atlantis, the same land the Most High crumbled to the bottom of the sea before the flood. They worship the gods of Atlantis. See? Let's bring it back to this plane. Let's go more into angels. Why? I'm saying this because you're going to see, and I'm going to put this out there, that once this system breaks down, and it will break down, the Most High will guide us again. Our technology and the things that we're dealing with in the earth has separated us from the Spirit to the point where we feel no need to link in to the Spirit for help. But the time is coming soon where we're going to need a guide physically in this earth that will guide us from one place to the next. I'm going to show you it's coming. Not if you're praying to Satan, though. Okay? You put that 6-pointed star up and start praying to Yahweh something, and you think something's going to come. Something is coming, but it's not going to be what you think. It's going to be called the specters and chittims. That's what's coming to you. You're going to pray these demons into your existence. All right? Let's get more of the angels in the Old Testament, the righteous angels. All right? Let's get, there's so many, I can't hit them all. Let's get Genesis 22. Let's get back there. and 1, more with Abram.
Genesis chapter 22, verse 1.
Read.
And it came to pass after these things that the Most High did tempt Abraham, and said unto him, Abraham. And he said, Behold, here I am. And he said, Take now thy son, thy only son, Isaac.
And this is why Muslims don't like the Bible, because Ishmael is not being acknowledged as a son in the books of Moses. So they just say, well, the Bible's tampered with, we don't want to hear it because you're not acknowledging Ishmael. Well, Ishmael is not the son of promise. And how dare any of our people worship a fake god under Islam, when Ishmael is not the people? The Most High gave you the promise and you're bowing to a rock. See? The Most High is not even acknowledging Ishmael. See? So the prophets were always directed by an angel, even in old time. Let's get the 15th verse.
Verse 15.
Read 14 and 15.
Verse 14. And Abraham called the name of the place Jehovah Jireh, as it is said to this day, in the mount of the Lord it shall be seen.
Now we know that he didn't call this place Jehovah Jireh. And this is more proof of a Masoretic injection. How do we know that? Let's go to Exodus 6 and 3. Read.
The book of Exodus chapter 6 verse 3. And I appeared unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and unto Jacob, and by the name of God Almighty, but by my name Jehovah was I not known to them.
So if Jehovah was in the Bible, how can Abraham name a place Jehovah Jireh when it says that Jehovah was not even a name given to Abraham? See, that when you go into the Bible, you can actually find their deception. Jehovah wasn't there at all. Jehovah is a tetragrammaton injection by the Masoretes. And it's actually, in English, a word linking to Baal of the tetragrammaton. See? How can Abram name that place Jehovah Jireh? In Exodus 6, he told Moses, well, Jehovah wasn't given to Abram. They slipped right there. See? Go to the next verse.
This is Genesis chapter 23,
Do
verse...
y'all understand what that clearly? Okay, go ahead.
Genesis 22:15.
Go ahead.
And the angel of the Lord
And the angel of the Lord
called unto Abraham out of heaven the second time, and said, By myself have I sworn, saith the Lord, for because thou hast done this thing, and hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, that in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed as the stars of the heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore, and thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemies, and in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed.
See that? So the promises came from the angel of the Lord down to Abraham. Who was the angel of the Lord in the Old Testament? Yes, that was Christ. He was a messenger of the Father. For the Father. See that? That's crystal clear to you there? He was leading us the whole time. So Christ is the beginning and the end. He's not just a New Testament. So Christians need to snap out of it. He's the beginning. Right? Let's get more. Let's get the one, just for verification, where it says the rock, Romans 10. Yeah, 1 Corinthians 10, yeah. 10 and 1 through 4.
The book of 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 1.
More proof. Read it.
Moreover, brethren, I would not that ye should be ignorant, how that all our fathers were under the cloud.
All of our fathers were under the cloud.
And all passed through the sea.
And all passed through the sea. When the children of Israel came out of Egypt through the Reed Sea.
Verse 2. And all were baptized unto Moses.
Why? Because they had to go through water to make it to the other side, to be saved. The same way you must go through regular water to be saved under Christ, under the new covenant. Read.
In the cloud and in the sea. And did all eat that same spiritual meat.
That spiritual meat was the manna that rained down when our forefathers were hungry. Read.
And did all drink the same spiritual drink.
Read.
For they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them.
Remember when Moses smote that rock and water came out? Whose power was emanating when Moses hit that rock? Who was the Most High using? Was it just Moses? Let's see.
And that rock was Christ.
Was who?
And that rock was Christ.
That was Christ that led us out of Egypt. See? That was Christ that destroyed the firstborn of the Egyptians. That was Christ. And when Moses, Moses the great leader, once he began to take credit for what the Most High sent his son to do, he was punished. The Most High let him see the land, but he could not cross over into it. Why? He sent his son to lead the children of Israel out of captivity. The same son that had to die so that we can come back again. And yes, Christ will lead us out of captivity again. And he will use his angels. I'm going to go there in a moment. Let's get some more. Let's get the wrestle with an angel, our father Jacob. Because I can't go through all of these today. There's so many. One moment. Let's get it. Genesis 32. Let's get that. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
Let's get it. Let's read it.
This is Genesis chapter 32. I'll start at verse 29.
Go ahead.
As a matter of fact, I'll start at verse 24. And Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day.
Go ahead.
And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh. And the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint. And he wrestled with him, and he said, Let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me. And he said unto him, What is thy name? And he said, Jacob.
Jacob, which means Jaiquab or supplanter. Read.
Verse 28. And he said, Thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel.
But what?
But Israel.
Yasha'Allah, which means to be a prince of the earth. And that's really our true stature, our true place in this earth, to be princes.
Mm-hmm.
Given to our Father from the heavenly realm. But because you would want to think you're Hamites or think it doesn't matter who you are, we've relegated ourselves to slaves. If you say you're Ham, you are from Ham. When you're really from the children of Israel, you have relegated your authority to heathens, to say that you were born to serve them. No, we wasn't born to serve the Gentiles. All right? We're serving the Gentiles due to the disobedience of our forefathers, but we weren't born to serve them. Because once this curse is broken, we will get the promises written of in the Old Testament. See? When Canaan is a servant to never stand up and have any level of rulership. That's what they teach you in churches. They tell you, well, it doesn't matter, black people. God loves everybody, but you're from Ham. If you believe that, then you'll never understand that you're really the princes of the earth. You're the heir to this whole kingdom under Christ, our King. See? So it does matter to that degree in understanding what is your promise. What is our promises? The men are princes, and the women are princesses. See? Read.
For as a prince hast thou power with the Most High.
So what did he knew he was in the presence of an angel, Jacob did, and he said, listen, you're not leaving here. He was holding him down until he was blessed. No longer would Jacob be a supplanter. Now he will be an heir to the whole earth. His children will one day receive this earth. See? Hope you're getting that. Now this is angel intervention all through the Old Testament. Right? It's more than I can actually go through. But let's get the angels who actually went into Sodom and Gomorrah. Let's get Genesis 19.
Mm-hmm.
Genesis 19. Let's get there.
The book of Genesis chapter 19 verse 1.
Go ahead.
And there came two angels to Sodom at even.
There came two angels to show you those two men in the chapter that preceded it were angels.
Mm-hmm.
See? Read.
And Lot sat in the gate of Sodom. And Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them. And he bowed himself with his face toward the ground.
Go ahead.
And he said, Behold now, my lords, turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry all night.
So he opened his house with hospitality to angels. He knew they were servants of the Most High from the spiritual realm. See, this is not far-fetched in old time. See? Our forefathers always walked and talked with angels. See? Read.
And tarry all night, and wash your feet, and ye shall rise up early and go on your ways.
So as you can see, angels have feet. He says, let me take care of you. Because why? When the angels go before the Lord, the presence of the Lord, Lot want a good report.
Mm-hmm.
He want a blessed report. Be careful to entertain strangers, because some, be careful to actually deal right with strangers because some have entertained angels unawares. I tell you that in Hebrews.
Mm-hmm.
So once he understood that he wasn't dealing with regular people, he was like, listen, come on in. I got the house ready for you. I can wash your feet. I want you to go before the Most High for a blessing. With a blessing. See that? Total respect. Don't forget the angels left Abram say, I'm going to go down and see what's going down in Sodom. Now, guess what was going down in Sodom? And next time you see a rainbow flag, understand what was going down in Sodom. But we're going to get there in a moment. Read.
And they said, Nay, but we will abide in the street all night.
He says, no, we're going to go check out what's going on here in Sodom and Gomorrah. These are angels now, talking just like regular people, no wings, okay? These are not cherubims with their wings, because they can actually come without their wings and just walk right up the street with you. Right? Read.
Verse 3. And he pressed upon them greatly, and they turned in unto him, and entered into his house.
So they came in.
And he made them a feast.
To show you, angels eat. Okay? Read.
And did bake unleavened bread, and they did eat. But before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house round about, both old and young, all the people from every quarter. And they called unto Lot, and said unto him, Where are the men which came in to thee this night?
Now here come the people. To show you they had some type of neighborhood watch going on there, where if a stranger come in, these Sodomites knew it.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, man, we seen some strong men come up in there. Now, mind you, these are dudes. These are guys here, right? Now, I need y'all to examine this story here. I'm going to show you why they don't want you reading the Old Testament. Read.
Where are the men which came in to thee this night?
Where are the men?
Bring them out unto us.
I need you to bring them out, Lot.
That we may know them.
That we may know them. See? These guys want to have sex with the men whom they thought was men that were invited in Lot's house. See? They knocking on the door like, hey, I heard you got some guys up in there. And see, a lot of you might think this is far-fetched, but you really need to look at what people, who's actually being bullied in this earth. These are aggressive, satanic nihilists let loose on our society that are preying on our children, preying on our society. And they come off in the media as the victims, talking about bullying, when they're the bullies. Now look at what goes on in the schools where the girls that play basketball are bullying the girls and forcing them to do things they don't want to do. Then don't go to jail. Okay? Okay? They try to bully people and force their will on you. That's a spirit on them. Okay? Read.
Bring them out unto us that
Bring them out unto us
that we may know them.
They want to have sex with these angels whom they think are men. Read.
Verse 6. And Lot went out at the door unto them.
He said, well, hold up now. Go ahead.
And shut the door after him, and said, I pray you, brethren, do not so wickedly. Behold now, I have two daughters which have not known man.
Now some people look at this, and I know this is a place of perplexity for women who say, well, if they know these guys are wrong, then how can they just throw their daughters and disrespect their daughters like that? But that wasn't the case. Lot was trying to do the pious and righteous thing. Why? Because he had other daughters who were already married to men in Sodom and Gomorrah. He's like, listen, do the right thing. Why don't you just marry a woman? Okay? He was trying to do the right thing and have them do what was right. You know, get married, have children. And no, they didn't want that. See? You're like, no, we see those two virile men come up in there. Right? Read.
Behold now, I have 2 daughters which have not known man.
He says, I have 2 daughters that haven't been touched.
Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you, and do ye to them as is good in your eyes.
Exactly. Why don't you just operate with them? Read.
Only unto these men do nothing.
But do nothing. Read.
For therefore came they under the shadow of my roof.
Go ahead.
Verse 9. And they said, Stand back.
It says, stand back, Lot.
And they said again, This one fellow came in to sojourn, and he will needs be a judge. Now will we deal worse with thee.
He said, I'll tell you what. Since you want to stop us from getting to the 2 dudes, Lot, we're going to deal with you too. See, and this is what happens when you open the door and first start off and say, well, you know, as long as it don't bother me, people can do whatever they want to do. Don't you know if you let it be and claim that it's not going to get to you how small the world is? If you let these people loose with their evil and not show them what it is, sooner or later it will impose in your space. Eventually you will find more and more people operating like that because they're targeting those who are not like them. They're not just keeping it amongst them. See that? So here it is. You got some angels. And they say, well, I'll tell you what. We're going to deal with Lot too. We're going to deal with all 3 of y'all now. Right? Read.
This is the rest of verse 9. As a matter of fact, let's read it again. This one fellow came into sojourn, and he will need to be a judge.
Go ahead.
Now will we deal worse with thee.
Now will we deal worse with thee. Read.
Than with them. And they pressed sore against the man, even Lot, and came there to break the door.
Go ahead.
But the men put forth their hand and pulled Lot into the house.
So here it is. They try to break the door, and Lot was standing at the door. They would have got Lot, but the angels pulled Lot back. Right? Read.
But the men put forth their hand and pulled Lot into the house to them.
You notice the scriptures are actually calling the angels men. I want to keep emphasizing that. Angels can take the form of men, and don't tell me angels cannot deal with women or deal with regular people when these men are trying to deal with angels. Okay? Read on.
And they smote the men that were at the door.
They smote the men that were at the door with blindness. Read.
Of the house with blindness.
He blind all the men that was at the door. These sodomites trying to rape men. See? Read.
Both small and great. So they so that they wearied themselves to find the door.
So they didn't go home after being smited with blindness. See that? To show you something is wrong with something is seriously diminished. This perversion have overtaken them. It's a demon. They're blind, feeling their way through the door to get to Lot and these men so that they can have their way with them. You would think, okay, blind, all right, listen, I'm going back home. Let me feel my way. No, not these guys. Right? Listen clearly.
Verse 12. And the men said unto Lot, Hast thou here any besides, son-in-law, and thy sons, and thy daughters?
Then the angels say, who you have in this house that you love? Read.
And whatsoever thou hast in this city, bring them out of this place.
He says, you better bring them out of this place right now. Read.
For we will destroy this place.
For we will destroy this place.
Because the cry of them is waxing great before the face of the Lord.
Because the people in this city are actually crying for judgment against this perversion, this satanic disposition against the Lord's creation. See? Now you see why they don't want you to read the Bible, because the majority of these perverted, demented, satanic sodomites are over theologian today, are over the churches today. They want to have their way with whomever they please. How does this link back to the angels? We're going to show you. Because there's nothing new under the sun. Okay? These same angels we're reading of, they didn't age. They're still operating. They're still operating from the heavenly realm.
Mm-hmm.
They still coming to the earth. I'm going to show you. So a lot of you may say, well, this happened a long time ago. This can't apply. Let's see. Read.
And the Lord have sent us to destroy it.
He have sent us to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. Read.
And Lot went out and spake unto his sons-in-law, which married his daughters, and said, Up, get you out of this place.
To show you that he had daughters that were married.
Mm-hmm.
So he was willing to give women that wasn't his daughters who wasn't touched to marry, instead of them doing something evil. Read.
For the Lord will destroy this city.
Read.
But he seemed as one that mocked unto his sons-in-law. And when the morning arose, then the angels hasted Lot, saying, Arise, take thy wife and thy 2 daughters which are here, lest thou be consumed in the iniquity of the city.
He said, if you don't get out of this city, you will be destroyed with it. Now check this out now. Read.
And while he lingered, the men laid hold upon his hand, and upon the hand of his wife,
Go ahead.
and upon the hand of his 2 daughters.
When it say lingered, when you go into Jasher and other records, his family loved the place. They didn't really want to leave. They were procrastinating. And Lot was saying, well, hurry up. The angels say, listen, we have to help you up out of here. You must tarry. Read.
And the Lord being merciful unto him.
But the Lord being merciful unto who?
Unto him.
Because his family still wanted Sodom and Gomorrah. One big party. See? Read.
And they
and he had daughters with husbands there.
Mm-hmm.
So they was like, well, what about my husband? He's like, listen, you better leave. But the Most High had mercy on Lot, or he would have destroyed them all. Read.
And they brought him forth and set him without the city. And
they guided him out and set him outside of the city. Read.
And it came to pass, when they had brought them forth abroad, that he said, Escape for thy life.
He says, escape for your life. Run. See? Read.
Look not behind thee.
Don't look back.
Neither stay thou in all the plain. Escape to the mountain.
See that? All through the scriptures, the Most High said, I'm going to bring something. Now, let me ask you, and I'm just bringing this out. Are you living in Sodom and Gomorrah right now? I'm just putting that out there. I know everybody like, well, it's, you know, we got time or whatever. Yeah, you got, hey. Think about what the Most High did to Sodom and Gomorrah. And then think of the alternative lifestyles that are being taught right now in your schools. It's not Jack and Jill no more. It's Jack and Jim. Your alternative book. I mean, your alternative families they have now. Where you have to look at a sodomite family the same as the creation of the Most High. You have to look at a man with man, woman with woman, as you look at a regular holy family, man and woman. As a matter of fact, a holy family is looked down upon in this earth now. Mm-hmm. And they're taking the children that actually come from the Most High's creation, man and woman, and giving it to sodomites. See? So look at, yeah, of course they're going to tell you, don't read the Bible. Because this is telling us, if you read this and you know that the Ecclesiastes say there's nothing new under the sun, what goes around comes around, that eventually what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah is going to happen to every place that operate like Sodom and Gomorrah. See? Let's see. He told them, escape. The angels told them. Okay? And when we read the scriptures, when it says, the Most High says, come out of my people, everyone look at us like we're some type of bad guys by proclaiming what the Most High said. To get yourself in a position of operating outside of your norm, which is hard at first because you don't know up from down, left from right. You're just feeling your way in something different. But it's still knowledge that you wouldn't have otherwise if you didn't take that first step. See? Yes.
Then you could also see when Lot was in Sodom and Gomorrah that he had messengers. It wasn't the Most High sending himself.
He had, exactly. And that's another good point. It wasn't a voice coming from heaven saying, Lot and your wife, get out. It was actually, he sent the angels as messengers to tell them and say, listen, man, come on, get your stuff. Right? Now, if they seen the men can't come in the house, you know they seen them leave out. But how many people actually say, well, you know what, let's go where they go? No, it was just one big party. Listen clearly. Read.
This is the middle of verse 17. Escape for thy life.
Escape for thy life.
Look not behind thee.
Look not behind thee.
Neither stay thou in all the plain.
Neither stay thee in all the plain.
Escape.
Escape
To the mountains.
to the mountains.
Lest thou be consumed.
Or you will die. Read.
And Lot said unto them, O not so, my Lord. Behold now, thy servant hath found grace in thy sight, and thou hast magnified thy mercy, which thou hast showed unto me in saving my life. I cannot escape to the mountain, lest some evil take me and I die.
Go ahead.
Behold now, this city is near to flee unto, and is a little one. O let me escape thither. Is it not a little one? And my soul shall live. And he said unto him, See, I have accepted thee concerning this thing also, and I will not overthrow this city for the which thou hast spoken. Haste thee, escape thither. I cannot do anything till thou come thither. Therefore the name of the city was called Zoar. The sun was risen upon the earth when Lot entered into Zoar. And the Lord rained upon Sodom and Gomorrah.
You notice the angel says that they can't actually do the destruction until he was out. To show you the angels have an indicator on who must leave first, who must be out first before the judgment. Listen to this clearly.
The sun was risen upon the earth when Lot entered into Zoar.
Go ahead.
Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah.
He rained upon Sodom and Gomorrah. Read.
Brimstone and fire.
And guess what? The evidence is right there in the Middle East till this day. It's as if the whole land was placed in an oven. Till this day. Archaeological evidence where you can actually go and crumble it with your own fingers and smell the sulfur from thousands of years ago. Okay? So this is not like some made-up story that would make you believe that, okay, this was something that was just some fallacy or some story created in the Bible. And the Jewish people are in Israel. Why they don't show this archaeology throughout the United States and show what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah? They're in it. They're close to the land now. Because you would believe. That's why. You would be like, Sodom and Gomorrah, let me do some research. Oh, this is a place where guys were trying to sleep with other guys. Right? Read on.
Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah.
Go ahead.
Brimstone and fire.
Brimstone and fire.
From the Lord out of heaven.
Out of heaven, read.
And he overthrew those cities and all the plain.
He overthrew those cities and where?
And all the plain.
And all the plain of Sodom and Gomorrah.
And all the inhabitants of the cities.
And all the inhabitants of the cities. Why? It wasn't just the guys and women operating with each other like that. It was also the people who was excusing that behavior and living amongst it as if it was normal. See? There's a spiritual and moral line when it comes to procreation or dealing with a person or one who's in the image of the Most High. You're not supposed to be dealing with man on man, woman on woman. You can't say you were born this way. Now you must ask, who's behind the media pushing that type of behavior? Who's these people that are putting things in the water, making a man desire that, messing up hormones and all that, and promoting this as normal? And then the people is like, well, it's not bothering me. You sure it's not? They become your school teachers. They become your authority. They are your politicians. Now they influence your every part of life. They're shaping your existence with their perversion. See? This is according to the Bible. That's why the Bible, the Most High, wasn't playing around with this. He wasn't running around saying, well, you a good person, you was born this way. Read what happened again.
And he overthrew those cities in all the plain.
No, they were born this way.
And he overthrew those cities in all the plain and all the inhabitants of the cities.
Fire. Okay? Read.
And that which grew upon the ground.
He didn't even want no existence. He didn't even want grain from that area. He destroyed everything. Everything. See? Read.
Verse 26. But his wife looked back from behind
But
him.
why? Because her heart was still in Sodom. And that's why I tell you, Christ says, remember Lot's wife. Remember Lot's wife. See? Read.
And she became a pillar of salt.
Now here's a deep thing about this. You go into the Zondervan Bible Dictionary and look up Sodom and Gomorrah or Lot. The pillar of her being right there in stone, a pillar of salt, is still there, sticking out of the mountain. And all the archaeologists say, well, Lot's wife. It's right there. You can actually go visit it. So Sodom and Gomorrah overtaken with fire till this day, as far as the sulfur and the burnt ashes from Sodom and Gomorrah exist today. The pillar of salt his wife turned to exists until this day. But they'll never tell you this. And I think that's important, living in a society that tells you that sodomy and that particular behavior is okay and normal. I think that's paramount in our day and time. How do these angels, how do we apply this to our time? Let's go to Amos 9 and 8.
The book of Amos chapter 9 verse 8.
Go ahead.
Behold, the eyes of the Lord power are upon the sinful kingdom.
The eyes of the Lord are upon the sinful kingdom. Who are the eyes of the Lord? We're going to show you them in a second.
And I will destroy it from off the face of the earth.
And I will destroy this sinful kingdom from off the face of the earth. Now think of Sodom and Gomorrah and think of the kingdom of the earth that's excusing Sodom and Gomorrah's behavior today. And let's talk about these eyes of the Lord, because we remember those angels who were the eyes of the Lord back during Lot's time, who just got finished eating and meeting with Abram, who said, I'm going to go over Sodom to see what's going on over there with Lot. See? Let's go to Zechariah, the 4th chapter and 10th verse, to see who these eyes of the Lord are. Right?
Zechariah chapter 4 verse 10. For who have despised the day of small things?
Go ahead.
For they shall rejoice, and shall see the plummet in the land, or in the hand of Zerubbabel, with those seven.
With those seven.
They are the eyes of the Lord.
They are the what?
They are the eyes of the Lord.
They are the eyes of the Lord that do what?
Which run to and fro through the whole earth.
Hold up. So we have angels, eyes of the Lord, that are going into these cities, reporting back to the Most High. It didn't change. They are the eyes of the Lord. Now let's get Enoch and let's identify these seven real quick.
This is the book of Enoch, chapter 20, verse 1.
Read.
These are the names of the holy angels who watch.
Hold up. These are the names of the holy angels that watch.
Verse 2. Uriel,
Uriel.
one of the holy angels who was over the world and over Tartarus.
Go ahead.
Verse 3. Raphael, one of the holy angels who was over the spirits of men. Raguel, one of the holy angels who takes vengeance on the world of the luminaries. Verse 5. Michael, one of the holy angels, to wit, he that is set over the best part of mankind and over chaos. Verse 6. Serachiel, one of the holy angels who was set over the spirits who sin in the spirit. Verse 7. Gabriel, one of the holy angels who was over paradise and the serpents and the cherubims. Verse 8. Remiel, one of the holy angels, whom the Most High set over those who rise.
Now let's go again to Zechariah 4 and 10. Those are your 7 angels. Got it? Read that again. Zechariah 4 and 10.
Zechariah chapter 4 verse 10.
Those are the names. We have to go into Enoch because the Bible does not describe the 7. You see? But the Enoch is written of in the book of Jude, where Jude actually quoted from Enoch. So you must go there to get information on the luminaries. All right? Now let's read that again in Zechariah 4 and 10.
Zechariah chapter 4 verse 10. For who have despised the day of small things? For they have rejoiced, and shall see the plummet in the hand of Zerubbabel with those 7. They are the eyes of the Lord.
They are the eyes of the Lord. Now mind you, let me read this. They are the eyes of the Lord, right? Hold that. And let me read this. Behold, the eyes of the Lord are upon the sinful kingdom, and I will destroy it from off the face of the earth. Now what kingdom is going throughout the whole earth, turning it into a democracy? Okay? Absorbing the whole world into a satanic, sodomite planet. Who's doing this? Behold, the eyes of the Lord are upon the sinful kingdom, and I will destroy it from off the face of the earth. Read that.
They are the eyes of the Lord.
They are the eyes of the Lord in what?
Which run to and fro through the whole earth.
So the angels still walk around just like people, looking at the sins of men and reporting them. And there will come a time in which the fire will rain. But before I go there, I'm going back to Amos 9, where it says, saving except I will not utterly destroy the house of Jacob, saith the Lord. See? So all this destruction and what we're seeing with the wars and all that coming to an apex, the Most High is still speaking of his promise of saving Jacob, the righteous of Jacob, through this. But then we have to ask a question in understanding these prophecies and where we are in prophecy today, because we're closer to the kingdom than Lot have ever thought about being, or Abram for that matter. Are we going to be Lot, or are we going to be Lot's wife? Because we have endeared ourselves to a kingdom that will soon be destroyed. And it aches us because there's so much tradition and love and connection and history we have with our captivity. We love it. But regardless of how great Satan have rolled out the red carpet, and I like to put that in quotations, because it's like a fiery carpet going downhill to hell, and made everything nice and spiffy and nice for us, this is not our kingdom. And it will be destroyed. Let's go into these 7 again. That the Most High will not utterly destroy the house of Jacob, saith the Most High. Now let's go to Revelations, the 1st chapter, and let's deal with the spirit of these 7. Let's start at the 1st verse.
Revelation chapter 1 verse 1. The revelation of Yeshua, which the Most High gave unto him to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass. And he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John, who bare record of the word of the Most High and of the testimony of Yeshua the Christ, and of all things that he saw. Verse 7. Behold, he cometh with the clouds.
He cometh with the clouds.
And every eye shall see him.
And every eye shall see Yeshua when he comes. And guess what? The majority of ships that you see operating within our system, which they call UFOs, they're actually government and satanic ships, the majority of them. Okay? The majority of them you see and operating are craft of the illumination of Satan. Okay, he have craft that's beyond the stealth craft that he gave military. They have craft that can disappear, that can actually operate. They've been dealing with craft like that since the 40s, since the 50s. A matter of fact, they've been dealing with that even during the time of the Mayans. They had a place where they would have ships and crafts come down to give homage to their gods or demons. So that never changed. Now I'm saying that because so many people are so hyped when they see these things flying in the air, and some of these ships are not the Most High ships. The majority of them are government ships, government crafts. Okay, that's the craft that they needed to perfect in their war of Armageddon and fighting Christ. Christ is coming with his clouds. He's coming with his ships, his chariots. See? Read.
Jump back to verse 4. Revelations 1 and 4. John to the 7 churches which are in Asia, grace be unto you and peace from him which is, and which was, and which is to come, and from the 7 spirits which are before his throne.
See that? Those are the 7 spirits that are before the throne. So they come through the earth, watch everything, and they go back to the throne and report back. They're called the eyes of the Lord. And these are the same 7 that was over the 7 churches set up under Christ. They're the same angels that were protecting the 7 churches. So those that's under the church, baptized under the church, will be protected by these same spirits that led the prophets in the past. What you got?
This is Proverbs 15 and 3.
Read.
The eyes of the Lord are in every place.
They in what?
Are in every place.
Every place.
Beholding the evil and the good.
Beholding the evil and the good. So they report back. So now you understand why Abram treated them in a certain manner. Now you see why Lot respected them and say, well, listen, don't touch them. You can marry my daughters. Okay? Because they report the evil and the good. See? And they're ministering spirits. Ministering spirits means they're helpers. They can't do what they want to do, only what they're commanded to do for Jacob. Now, let's go back to Revelations real quick and finish reading through that.
Revelations 1 and 5.
Read.
And from Yeshua the Christ, who is the faithful witness and the first begotten of the dead, and the prince of
when he
the
says
kings.
the first begotten of the dead, he came back and shown himself. Then he went to the heavenly realm. He's the first to do that. Read.
And the prince of the kings of the earth.
And another thing I wanted to put out there. If he's the first begotten of the dead, right? Who raised him from the dead? And I'm going to put that out there, especially for Christians. Okay, the Most High did, right? And I'm saying that because you get confused saying that Christ is the Most High, when it was the power of the Father that raised Christ. See? Read.
Unto him that loved us and washed us from our sins in his own blood.
And he had to come because under the Old Testament there was a lamb of atonement for the sins of the children of Israel that must needs be done once a year. So Christ came to sacrifice his blood once so that we don't have to atone for sins every year. He's a fulfillment of that particular law. So if you don't know the Old Testament, you don't even understand the atonement for sins and why it's necessary. See? What is a sin? Breaking the law. But how can you atone for sins when you're claiming that you can break the law and be okay? That you can sin and Christ cover that? I'm just putting this out for Christians so that they can think about what they're doing when they claim that the law is done away with. And by doing so, by saying the law was done away with and we don't got to follow the law of the Sabbath anymore, you got it. Homosexuals and sodomites are now coming to your church and say, well, you can't blame us. You're sinning all the time and telling people it's okay. So move over. We're taking over this church. Read on.
Verse 6. And have made us kings and priests.
And made us kings and priests.
Unto the Most High.
Unto the Most High.
And his Father. To him be glory and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Verse 7. Behold, he cometh with clouds.
He cometh with clouds.
And every eye shall see him.
And every eye that's in this earth shall see him. Why? Because it tell you it will be nothing but darkness. All their space junk will come to this earth. There will be no electric grid. It's going to be a total blackout throughout the whole earth. And the only light that will be seen is Christ. Read.
And they also which pierced him.
And the same people who was behind piercing him. Who was that? The Romans. Because they're still set up over there. The Roman Catholic Church. They pierced Christ. So he's coming to deal with you. Read.
And all kindreds of the earth shall wail.
Hold up. I thought they was going to be happy. I thought all the nations going to rejoice when Christ come back.
And all kindreds of the earth shall wail.
The world will wail when Christ come back. Why? What happens when you realize that the same people you've been oppressing looks and are the people through bloodline of Christ? So he's not coming back, you know, to grab your hand and skip through the tulips. He's coming back for war and vengeance. Okay, let me tell you, he wasn't playing with Pharaoh. He wasn't playing with the Egyptians. Moses said, let my people go. All right. And when the Most High sent Christ, it was over. Okay, he sent Moses as the messenger, but Christ was doing, he was doing all you see, all those miracles, that was Christ. Okay. Read on.
And all the kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him.
Because of him.
Even so, Amen. I am the Alpha. I am Alpha and Omega.
That should say, I am Ah and Tha, because why? Christ wasn't speaking Greek. Christ was a Hebrew. Ah is the beginning. Tha is the end. Read.
The beginning and the end.
To show you Christ was there in the beginning, like we mentioned earlier. Read.
Saith the Lord, which is, and which was, and which is to come, the Almighty. I, John, who also am your brother and companion in tribulation, and in the kingdom and patience of Yeshua the Christ, was in the isle that is called Patmos, for the word of the Most High and for the testimony of Yeshua the Christ.
I need you to go down to the 24th verse.
Verse 20.
Go down to the 7 spirits real quick.
This is verse 20. The mystery of the 7 stars which thou sawest.
The mystery of the 7 stars which John sawest.
In my right hand, and the 7 golden candlesticks. The 7 stars are the angels of the 7 churches.
Hold up, they are the what?
The 7 stars are the angels of the 7 churches.
They are the eyes of the Lord. See that? These are the same 7 spirits that go throughout the earth and report back and will be with Christ in the destruction. The comparison that we would get to that, or the close we can understand the destruction of what will happen in the earth on a mass scale, is what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah. See? So, Of course, there's going to be lands that will not be inhabited by the time Christ comes. A lot of you already know what lands are they. That's why the Most High said, leave there first. Okay? In Isaiah 11, it shows you all the places that the angels will lead us out of when Christ returns. Let's go to Ezekiel 20. Let's get straight there. In 33.
Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 33. As I live, saith the Lord power, surely with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out will I rule over you.
Go ahead.
And I will bring you out from the people.
I will bring thee out from the people. It shows you in Isaiah the 11th chapter what people the Most High is going to bring us out from amongst. Those are the places. Okay. Read. And fortunately, Sodom and Gomorrah, the land of the rainbow flag, is not one of them. Read it again.
As I live, saith the Lord, power, surely with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out will I rule over you.
Go ahead.
And I will bring you out from the people.
I will bring you out from the people.
And will gather you out of the countries wherein ye are scattered.
And I will gather you out of the countries wherein you are scattered. Now, just so you'll know the exact countries, yourself, go to Isaiah the 11th chapter and don't apply any other countries outside of what you're reading there. Those are the countries, according to the Bible, we will be gathered from. Okay? Read.
With a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out.
Go ahead.
And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people.
Go ahead.
And there I will plead with you face to face, like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt.
So now we're in the wilderness, according to Ezekiel 20. This is after the so-called New World Order have been established, after they have destroyed the financial system and led everyone into a monetary electronic system with the computers, implemented the mark of the beast all over the earth. And those that are off the grid are now deemed terrorists and a threat, an enemy to the state. Okay? When Ezra said, they shall put you out of your houses, then shall it be known who is mine elect. After they do this, you have to realize they must put the electronic one world grid in first, so they can identify the spiritual, those of Jacob who oppose the system. See? Eventually, they're going to try to come after Israel. And the Most High is going to have the holy angels move us into the wilderness. His holy angels. Okay? Read.
Verse 36. Like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt.
So now we're in the wilderness. Those that have fled, those have went into other areas, there's still going to be something greater that will happen even after all of this, once the grid comes down. And the angels will guide us. Let's read that in Matthew 24. You got Ezekiel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
St. Matthew chapter 24. And I'll start at verse 29.
Read.
Immediately after the tribulation of those days.
The tribulation is speaking of the tribulation of Israel. That's what it's speaking of. It's not speaking of the whole earth. It's speaking of Israel. The tribulation happened, well, the Great Tribulation really happened. It began in 70 AD when our people were destroyed by the Romans. Okay? And I know some people out there erroneously say that the 3 world wars are prophesied in the scriptures erroneously when it tell you in Revelations 2 woes has happened and 1 woe is to come. They're off with that. The 2 woes that John was speaking of was the 2 destructions that happened to Israel. One under the Assyrians, another one under the Babylonians, and he said there was one to come. That last woe was when the Romans took us down in 70 AD, and they're still taking us down till this day. That's the last woe. It's not 3 world wars. The 3 world wars of America have nothing to do with the 3 woes in Revelations. It's talking about the destructions of how they would actually take down the children of Israel. That's what the woes are about. There's 3 woes that our people would need to go through first before the kingdom. See? Finish reading.
Immediately after the tribulation of those days,
Go ahead.
shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heaven shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn.
Same thing we read in Revelations. Read.
And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels.
See? There you go. So the same time that fury and power on the way back to the earth, where the stars are falling, where the junk, their space junk is coming back to the earth, Christ is destroying them all out in what they call space, which we know is heaven. He's going to begin to gather his elect with the angels at the same time that are left in those places in Isaiah the 11th chapter. See? Finish reading.
And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the 4 winds, from one end of heaven to the other.
Now that's key. It's talking about the elect. So these are they who know the truth, because the elect is those that follow Christ and keep the commandments. So these are they who were baptized into the truth of Christ. This is not just them picking up Israelites. All right. Now, let's go back to Ezekiel. Now, I'm giving you this as an example because the Most High always send the angels, ministering spirits, to guide his elect. That never change. See? Go back to Ezekiel 20, which says, we left off at there.
Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 37.
Go ahead.
And I will cause you to pass under the rod.
Why? Because in the wilderness, we will be back under the commandments again. Which means the things we do will lead to our death. There will be another purging in the wilderness. Not 40 years like before, but a purging nonetheless. So it don't stop once we're in the wilderness. There will be a purging. Let's give an example in Isaiah, the 60th chapter, of somebody in the wilderness figuring that they're going to eat some pork. And for you who are claiming that that law is done away with, that's the Old Testament, this prophecy is future tense. See? Let's read it. Isaiah 66.
Isaiah 66 and 17.
Read it.
They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the garden behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh, and the abomination and the mouse shall be consumed together, saith the Lord.
See? So if we're in the wilderness eating mouse, possum, pig, anything that's unclean, and you know our people, when a lot of us get in the wilderness, you think it's okay. Well, I'm under grace, I'm under Christ. You eat pig, you're going to die. Because why? We'll be back under the rod. No more grace. Grace is a period in which we must learn what to do before Christ returns, before the judgment. Go back to Ezekiel.
Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 37.
Read.
And I will cause you to pass under the rod.
Go ahead.
And I will bring you into the bond of the covenant.
Because we must go through another judgment. Under the rod is like being under what? The rod of Moses. We're going back there. Our camps, everything is going to be set up exactly how it was in the wilderness. Read.
Verse 38. And I will purge you out from among you the rebels.
See, they're going to be rebels amongst Israel in the wilderness. That's going to not rebel against us. They're going to be rebelling against the laws of the Most High. See? Read.
And then they transgress against me.
See? Transgression of the law. That's sin. Go ahead.
I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn.
Go ahead. What countries? Read Isaiah 11. It breaks down each country in detail. So you don't have to wonder what places will still be intact upon Christ's return. He tell you exactly where he'll gather you from in Isaiah 11. Read.
And they shall not enter into the land of Israel.
So the rebels who rebel against God's law in the wilderness will not go into Christ's rest that he's established. To prove to you that Israel is not established under the Jewish people from 1948. Where did this happen at in Israel? Where did this happen where they had to go into the wilderness and go through a purging for breaking the law of God under a leader? Where did that happen at? So this is future tense. Okay? 1948 is a fulfillment of the Gentiles taking God's land and casting lots on a land that didn't belong to them. Joel, the 3rd chapter. So they're there. They're in the land until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. We're going to go into the land once it's brought back from the sword. Yes. That means it will be utterly wasted first. See, the Most High is going to be a fire round about us to protect us from the waste that land will be. The fallout from that land will not affect our people. And after it's cleared out, the angels clear it out, then we're going to go into the land. It's going to be a beautiful land like it once was. It tell you that the mother, which is our land, Israel, will actually bring forth her fruit in celebration of welcoming her children back. See? Read on in Ezekiel.
And ye shall know that I am the Most High.
Go ahead.
Verse 39. As for you, O house of Israel.
As for you, O house of Israel. You notice the Most High is always speaking to his people. And this is not to disrespect anyone else. In case you haven't forgot, the Bible is an Israelite book. It's the prophecies concerning Abraham's children. So this is not saying that other people don't have a place, but first, the Most High must work and purge and get his people together, because they're the princes and the princesses who will be ruling in this kingdom. It's their promise. See? Read on.
As for you, O house of Israel.
As for you, O house of Israel.
Thus saith the Lord power. Go ye, serve ye everyone his idols.
He says, now, based on what you know what's going to happen, y'all go ahead and continue to serve your idols if you want. Act like you haven't heard anything at all. Go back to worshiping your pagan gods if you would like. Read.
And hereafter also, if ye will not hearken unto me.
He says, but if you don't listen to me.
But pollute my holy name no more with your gifts.
Hold up. The Most High makes it clear. Don't pollute his name no more with your gifts. Why? Because a lot of people out there think that they can pay their way into the kingdom of heaven. He's like, take your gifts. Follow my commandments. See? Read.
And with your idols.
And with your idols. Speaking of polluting names, because we got that there. I'm almost done here. I wanted to show something real quick. So I hope we gave you some details on the actions of angels and how that applies today, and how that links to the coming and why he's going to destroy these societies in these cities. Okay? So I hope you got some detailed information on, because usually angels are foreign to our thinking. We think that it's something afar off from what an angel really is. An angel can operate normal amongst us. Okay? And they do it all the time.